The chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with light and sound, banners of a dozen empires waving proudly above the long circular hall. Alien leaders sat in their jeweled seats, their voices rising with laughter and joy, their eyes filled with relief. For the first time in many years, the galaxy believed the long war was finally over. At the center of the chamber, the Great Peace Treaty floated as a glowing projection, its clauses written in countless languages, each one a promise that no blade would be raised again. The aliens celebrated with wide smiles, their voices blending into songs of victory, their minds already at ease with dreams of peace. But among them sat the human delegates, a small group in dark uniforms, silent and unmoving. Their faces showed no joy, no relief, only calm eyes that watched the room as if weighing every shadow. One alien leaned close to another and whispered with amusement, "See how quiet they are, these humans. Perhaps they do not know how to celebrate." His companion laughed, flicking his scaled tail. "Or perhaps they are simply too stiff. They should learn to enjoy this moment. The war has ended, after all." But the humans heard, and though they did not respond, a small flicker passed in their eyes, something cold, something unreadable. They knew what the others could not see. For while the galaxy sang of peace, humanity remembered blood. They remembered colonies burned, fleets shattered, and promises broken. They remembered the moments when treaties in the past had been signed and broken within days, when alien leaders had smiled across the table even as their armies prepared to strike from behind. Humanity had learned the truth long ago. In the galaxy, peace was never given. It was only borrowed, and always taken away. The lead alien speaker, a tall creature with golden horns, raised his arms and declared, "At last, we have found harmony. The humans have agreed to lay down their arms. We have agreed to open our borders, to trade, to unite. This is the dawn of a new age." Cheers erupted, echoing through the chamber. Alien voices rose in joy, tails thumped, wings spread, claws tapped against the floor. The sound of victory was overwhelming, yet the humans remained still. One of them, a gray-haired man with calm eyes, leaned slightly toward his aide and whispered words too quiet for any alien ear to catch. The aide nodded once, his face expressionless, his hands folded neatly in front of him. The galaxy mistook human silence for weakness, but it was not weakness. It was memory. It was foresight. For behind that silence lay shipyards hidden deep in Earth's orbit, where fleets were being built not for celebration, but for survival. Behind that calm face lay the knowledge of spies and whispers, reports of alien factions already planning to use the treaty as a shield for their own gain. Behind those steady eyes lay the truth humanity would not share, not yet. A younger alien, eager and foolish, stood from his seat and raised a glass filled with glowing liquid. "To humanity," he cried. "At last, they have joined us in peace. May their weapons gather dust, may their armies fade, and may they learn to live as we do, in trust." The hall roared with agreement, but still the humans did not raise their cups. Their hands remained flat on the table, their gazes steady. One of the alien leaders frowned, leaning toward another. "Strange," he muttered. "They do not drink. Do they not trust us?" The truth was far sharper. Humanity trusted, but not in the treaty. They trusted only in themselves. They trusted their soldiers who still trained in silence. They trusted their fleets that moved like shadows. They trusted the bond of their people, hardened by betrayal after betrayal. And as they sat in that chamber, surrounded by the sound of false joy, they felt only the cold certainty of what was to come. When the cheers quieted and the treaty was sealed with ceremonial lights, the human delegate finally spoke. His voice was calm, polite, even gentle. "We thank the Council for this agreement," he said, bowing his head slightly. "May it last as long as truth itself." The words sounded peaceful, but beneath them was steel. The aliens clapped their hands, tails, and wings together in celebration, not realizing the warning hidden within. Humanity had not said the treaty would last forever. They had said only that it would last as long as truth. And already, in their hearts, they knew truth was short-lived. The meeting ended with cheers and handshakes, with promises and smiles. The aliens left the chamber speaking of new alliances, of trade, of safety. They believed themselves clever, believed they had secured the humans at last, believed they had bound them with paper and words. But when the chamber emptied and the humans walked together in silence, their leader paused in the long corridor. His aide turned to him and asked softly, "Do they believe it?" The man's lips curved into the faintest shadow of a smile. "They believe it," he said. "And that is their mistake." The dogged steps of their boots echoed against the floor, steady and unshaken. Behind them, the galaxy slept in false peace. But humanity was already awake, already watching, already preparing. For they had signed the treaty with one hand, but with the other, they sharpened their blades. They knew what the aliens refused to see. The peace treaty was not safety. It was only a curtain, and behind it, betrayal was waiting. Humanity would be ready when it came, the galaxy celebrated, but Earth did not. Across alien capitals, festivals lit the skies with fire and music, leaders toasted one another in grand halls, and fleets were recalled to their home ports. Everywhere, the treaty was hailed as a triumph, a final end to endless war. But on Earth, there were no festivals, no fire, no music. The lights of the cities glowed quietly, and the people went about their lives with calm faces. On the surface, it looked like peace. But deep beneath that calm, something very different was happening. Hidden in vast shipyards under Earth's oceans, steel leviathans were being assembled piece by piece. Massive warships, larger and stronger than anything the galaxy believed humanity possessed, were constructed in silence. Their hulls gleaming under cold lights. On the dark side of the moon, entire fleets were hidden beneath cloaking fields, their engines silent but ready, their weapons locked but not forgotten. Engineers worked tirelessly, their hands stained with oil and metal dust, their voices hushed as if the very walls could not be trusted. In underground bunkers and training fields carved into mountains, soldiers drilled day and night. Their boots struck the ground in unbroken rhythm, their voices rose in chants that echoed through stone corridors. They trained not for the peace promised on paper but for the betrayal they knew was coming. Every movement was sharp, every strike was strong, every breath a reminder that weakness meant death. These soldiers did not cheer the treaty. They sharpened their knives, loaded their rifles, and prepared for the day the galaxy would forget its own promises. High in orbit, human admirals met in dark rooms, their faces lit only by the glow of holographic maps. Stars glittered in blue light, each one a colony, each one a border, each one a possible point of attack. They did not ask if betrayal would come. They asked only when. And for every scenario they built, for every fleet they mapped, they made sure that humanity would never again be caught unprepared. The galaxy looked at Earth and saw silence. To them, that silence was weakness, the quiet of a species finally at rest. But in truth, it was the silence of a blade being drawn in the shadows, the silence of a hunter waiting for the right moment. Humanity had learned too many lessons in blood. They remembered colonies lost to surprise raids, treaties broken before the ink had dried, and promises shattered under fire. They had buried too many dead to believe in peace. And so, while the galaxy celebrated, humanity prepared. Children were taught stories not of peace, but of vigilance. In schools, they learned not just mathematics and history, but survival and loyalty. Teachers spoke of treaties as fragile things, as walls made of glass that could shatter at the first blow. Families told their children, "Trust your people, but never trust the galaxy." And the children listened, their eyes hard, their young minds already carrying the weight of suspicion. Even the farmers in the fields knew what the treaty meant. As they harvested crops under the warm sun, they stored more than they needed, filling hidden reserves deep underground. They knew that war could come again at any moment, and they would not let their families starve when the skies burned. Miners dug deeper than before, their tunnels twisting into the earth, hauling up metals that were not sent to markets but to shipyards. Every hand on Earth, no matter how small, played a part in preparing for the storm. The leaders of Earth sat in quiet chambers, their faces stern as they listened to reports. Intelligence officers brought whispers of alien fleets still patrolling near human space, of factions building weapons under the guise of peace. Each report was read with calm eyes, each betrayal noted with cold certainty. "They will strike again," one leader said softly. "We must be ready." And the others nodded, not with fear, but with resolve. Even beyond Earth, in the far colonies where humans had carved homes from alien soil, preparation continued. Settlers built bunkers under their houses, trained with weapons in their spare hours, and kept watch over the skies. Children there grew up knowing that survival was not guaranteed, that the galaxy could turn on them at any moment. But their hearts were strong, and their loyalty was unshakable. They knew that when the day came, they would not stand alone. Humanity would rise together. And so, while the galaxy raised its glasses and sang songs of peace, humanity moved in silence. Fleets were built. Soldiers were trained. Families prepared. Every man, woman, and child knew the truth in their bones. The treaty was not a shield, but bait. A trap waiting to be sprung. The galaxy believed the humans had lowered their guard, but the humans had never lowered it at all. When alien spies tried to peek into human space, they found nothing but smiles and polite words. The diplomats bowed, the envoys offered gifts, and the ambassadors spoke of cooperation. But behind those smiles, the humans counted their fleets. Behind those bows, they sharpened their blades. Behind those polite words, they whispered only one thing to themselves. When the betrayal comes, we will be ready. The stars above Earth burned quietly, watching. The galaxy thought peace had arrived. But Earth knew better. For in the heart of every human, in the strength of every soldier, in the loyalty of every family, there was no illusion. The peace treaty was only a mask, and behind that mask, war was waiting. Humanity would meet it with fire. The galaxy was drunk on its own victory. Across the stars, alien empires held parades, their leaders boasting that the Great War had ended at last. They believed the treaty with humanity was unshakable, a binding promise that no one would dare break. But beneath the surface of their celebrations, unease began to spread. It started with whispers, small and uncertain, but whispers have a way of traveling faster than shouts. And these whispers carried the weight of fear. On the borders near human space, alien patrols reported strange movements. They spoke of massive shadows drifting just beyond the range of their scanners, fleets too large to be defensive. In hidden messages, captains confessed to seeing warships far greater than humanity should have possessed so soon after the war. Yet when these reports reached the high councils, they were dismissed. Nonsense, the leaders said. The humans agreed to peace. These are only rumors born from nerves. But the whispers did not stop. Merchants who traveled through human colonies told of shipyards that never slept. They claimed to see transports hauling metals by the ton, convoys carrying supplies into places no one was allowed to enter. Some even swore that they had glimpsed the outline of colossal war machines under construction, hidden under layers of shielding. When asked about it, human officials only smiled, their eyes calm, their voices polite. Trade continues as normal, they said. Peace is strong. Yet their smiles never reached their eyes, and their calmness unsettled those who heard them. Spies were sent, but few returned. Those who did brought back little more than confusion. They reported endless drills in human colonies, civilians who moved with the discipline of soldiers, children taught to aim weapons as easily as they learned to write. They described cities where lights burned all night in factories, but the goods produced never entered trade markets. When the alien leaders asked for proof, the spies lowered their eyes. They hide it well, they admitted. Too well. The council began to whisper behind closed doors. Questions filled their meetings, their voices lower than usual. Why do the humans build when there is peace? One asked. Why do they train when there is no war? Asked another. Do they not trust us? But none dared speak the truth aloud. Deep down, they knew the answer. It was not about trust. It was about memory. Humans did not forget betrayal, and they did not forgive it. At the next gathering of the Galactic Council, the alien delegates greeted the humans with smiles and open hands. Music played, banners flew, and gifts were exchanged. The humans accepted the gifts politely, nodded their heads respectfully, and said all the right words. Yet when the alien leaders tried to look into their eyes, they found only stillness. No joy, no warmth, only calm watchfulness. It was like staring into a wall of stone. Nothing revealed, nothing given away. The aliens laughed louder to cover their unease, but in the silence of their hearts, they began to fear. One alien, bold and foolish, finally dared to confront the human delegate in private. He leaned close and whispered, "You build fleets. You train soldiers. You prepare for war while speaking of peace. Do you mean to betray the treaty?" The human looked at him with steady eyes and answered in a voice quiet enough to chill the blood. "We do not prepare for war. We prepare for betrayal. And it will not be ours." Then the human walked away, leaving the alien frozen with the weight of those words. The whispers grew louder after that. Rumors twisted into stories, stories into warnings. Fleets near human space doubled their patrols. Soldiers kept weapons closer at hand. Yet still, the alien leaders told themselves there was nothing to fear. Humans are cautious, they said. Humans are strange. But they would not dare break the treaty. They are too few, too young, too fragile. They believed their own lies because the truth was too dangerous to admit. But among the common people, fear spread faster than lies. Farmers in alien colonies looked at the skies with unease, wondering if human ships waited beyond the stars. Merchants told their children to avoid human trade routes. Soldiers spoke in hushed tones about humans who did not laugh, humans who did not rest, humans who stared at them with eyes that seemed to know something no one else did. And through it all, humanity remained silent. Their diplomats smiled, their voices soft, their movements calm. But silence can be louder than words, and soon that silence was deafening. The aliens could not shake the feeling that every smile was a mask, every word a warning, every treaty clause nothing but a game already lost. The whispers finally reached the ears of those who had once mocked humanity most. These proud leaders had laughed at the idea of humans as warriors, had called them weak, fragile, too bound by emotion to survive in a galaxy ruled by strength. But now, they sat awake at night, hearing those whispers in their minds. The humans are preparing. The humans are waiting. The humans know. Still, no one dared act. They told themselves it was nothing, that the treaty would hold, that humanity would not strike first. But deep in their hearts, every alien who had heard the whispers began to wonder the same thing. When the betrayal came, who would strike first? Them, or the humans who never stopped watching? And so the galaxy celebrated by day and whispered by night, caught between pride and fear. They wanted to believe in the peace treaty, but every time they saw the calm, cold eyes of the humans, they felt the truth pressing against their hearts. Humanity was not at rest. Humanity was waiting. And the whispers would not stop. The peace treaty was still fresh, its ink barely dry, when the first crack appeared. It came not with open declarations, not with bold fleets, but with a single border colony far from the glittering halls of the Galactic Council. The colony was small, a quiet human settlement on the edge of a disputed sector. Families lived there, children played under artificial suns, farmers worked the soil, and miners carved into the stone to gather resources. To the galaxy, it was insignificant, a place hardly worth notice. But to humanity, every settlement was sacred, every colony a promise to protect. One night, when the colony slept under the pale glow of its twin moons, the sky split open. Alien ships descended in silence, their engines muted, their weapons hot. They came without warning, without announcement, without hesitation. Missiles rained down, fire tore through homes, and in minutes the peaceful outpost became a graveyard. Families fled into underground shelters, but the attackers found them. Farmers and miners, untrained but unbroken, tried to fight with whatever they had, tools, rifles, even their bare hands. Their resistance was brave but brief. By dawn, the colony was ash and dust. When news reached Earth, the galaxy expected outrage. They expected humans to storm into the council, to pound fists on the table, to shout for justice. Instead, the message that left Earth was quiet. It carried no fire, no demands. "We acknowledge the attack," it said. We mourn our dead." The words were calm, but behind them was silence deeper than any scream. The galaxy saw this silence as restraint, but those who knew humanity best felt a chill. Silence had never meant weakness. Silence had always meant waiting. The aliens responsible called it an accident. They claimed their ships had been off course, that their targeting systems had malfunctioned, that the deaths were regrettable but unavoidable. The Council accepted their words too quickly, their fear of shattering the treaty greater than their desire for truth. Speeches were made, apologies given, and promises repeated. "The peace will hold," they said. This was a mistake, nothing more. And many in the galaxy believed them, because they wanted to believe. But humanity did not. At the colony's ruins, soldiers in black uniforms walked among the dead. They carried no cameras, no banners, no symbols of protest. They carried only silence and resolve. They buried every man, woman, and child with care, their hands steady, their faces cold. At each grave, the same words were spoken, never forgotten. Never again. There were no tears shed publicly, no wails of grief. The pain was buried deep, turned into steel. In the council chamber, human delegates sat at their usual seats, listening as alien leaders spoke of peace. Their faces did not change, their voices remained polite, but their eyes had hardened further. The galaxy did not notice, or perhaps they chose not to. But some did. A few alien observers who had lived among humans for years saw the truth in those eyes. They whispered quietly to one another, "The treaty has already ended. We just do not see it yet." The alien empire that had launched the attack celebrated in secret. They believed the humans weak, too bound by the treaty to retaliate, too fearful of breaking peace to answer back. Their generals laughed in private halls, saying, "See? They will not strike. They will swallow their anger." Humanity bows to paper. They did not realize they had awakened something far greater than they imagined. For on Earth, shipyards worked faster. In orbit, new warships powered on their engines for the first time, their lights gleaming in the dark like stars of iron. In hidden bunkers, soldiers trained harder, their voices rising in chants that shook the walls. And in every heart, from the highest leader to the youngest child, the betrayal of the border colony burned like fire. Humanity did not shout. Humanity did not rage. Humanity prepared. The galaxy mistook silence for surrender. They looked at human calmness and thought it was fear. They were blind to the truth. That silence was a vow. The treaty had been broken in blood, and humanity would not forget. They had waited for this moment, expected it, prepared for it. The trap had been sprung, but not on humanity. It had been sprung on the galaxy itself. At the next council session, when the aliens spoke of moving forward and healing wounds, the lead human delegate finally rose. His voice was low, his words measured, but every syllable struck like iron. "We signed the treaty in good faith," he said. "We kept our word. But you have broken it already. Do not mistake our silence for weakness. Do not mistake our calm for blindness. We remember every betrayal. And if it happens again, we will not remain silent." The chamber fell quiet. Even those who had dismissed humanity felt unease creep into their hearts. The words were not shouted, not dramatic, but they carried the weight of inevitability. The galaxy's leaders forced smiles and returned to their speeches, trying to smooth the moment away. But the whispers began anew, stronger this time, carried across the stars. "The humans know. The humans are waiting. The treaty is broken, and when the storm comes, they will be ready." Back on the border, the ashes of the colony cooled under alien skies. But from those ashes, a shadow spread outward, invisible yet unstoppable. It was the shadow of humanity's patience, the quiet before the strike, the silence before the storm. The galaxy thought the peace still held. But the humans already knew the truth. Peace had died with the first colony. What followed now would not be peace, but the reckoning. The Galactic Council chamber glittered under its golden lights, but the mood inside was tense. The treaty had only just been signed, yet rumors of betrayal clung to the air like smoke after fire. The border colony was gone, its people buried under the weight of alien excuses. Most of the galaxy wanted to believe it was an accident, a tragic mistake. They wanted to keep the illusion of peace alive. But when the human delegates entered the chamber, the illusion trembled. Their boots struck the polished floor with steady rhythm, their faces calm but unreadable. Behind their eyes burned a fire no alien could miss. The council began its session with speeches of reassurance. A scaled ambassador with jeweled horns stood tall and declared, "The treaty is unbroken. One colony lost is regrettable, but the future of peace is far more important. Let us not dwell on mistakes." Others echoed him, their voices smooth, their smiles practiced. They spoke of unity, of progress, of trade routes opening and borders softening. Their words filled the chamber like a song, but beneath the melody was a note of fear. They all knew the humans had not spoken yet. When the lead human delegate finally rose, the entire chamber fell silent. He was a tall man, his hair streaked with gray, his face lined with years of war. He did not shout, he did not pound the table, but his very presence pulled the air tighter. His voice was calm, low, but each word struck the hall like the toll of a bell. "We came here in good faith," he began. "We signed your treaty. We agreed to your terms. We gave peace a chance." He paused, his eyes sweeping across the circle of alien leaders. "But one of you has already broken it. You call it an accident. You call it regret. We call it betrayal." Murmurs spread quickly, tails flicking, claws tapping, wings twitching. Some aliens looked offended, others nervous, but none could ignore the weight in his tone. The human did not wait for them to settle. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Do not mistake our silence for blindness. Do not mistake our calm for weakness. We buried our dead in silence because we remember. We trained our soldiers in silence because we know. We build in silence because we prepare. If this treaty is broken again, there will be no silence left." The dogged calm of his words pressed against the walls of the chamber until even the strongest alien leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some tried to laugh, thin, nervous laughter that rang hollow. "Surely," one winged representative stammered, "the humans exaggerate. Surely they do not mean to threaten the council." But when the human turned his eyes toward him, the alien's words died in his throat. Another alien, bolder than the rest, sneered and said, "And what would you do, human? You are but one species, young and fragile. Do you think you can stand against us all if peace fails?" The human's lips curved slightly, not a smile, not amusement, but something sharper, colder. "We do not need to stand against you all," he said quietly. "We only need to stand. That is enough." The chamber grew still again. Those who had doubted before now felt a chill crawl across their skin. They remembered old stories whispered through their histories, stories of humanity's stubbornness, of their refusal to bow even when crushed. Stories of how they fought not only with weapons, but with something deeper, will. And in that moment, those stories no longer felt like myths. The human delegate stepped forward, his shadow stretching under the light. "We have seen your kind of peace before. Smiles on the surface, daggers behind the back. We do not fear it. We expect it. Break this treaty again, and we will not come to these chambers with words. We will come with fire. And when that day comes, do not say you were not warned." The words hung in the air like thunder waiting to break. No one dared speak. Even the commander who had sneered lowered his eyes, unwilling to meet the human's gaze any longer. Around the chamber, whispers began to rise again, carried from mouth to mouth. "They are preparing," some said. "They do not trust us." Others muttered, "Perhaps they are right. Perhaps peace was a lie from the start." But the humans did not listen to the whispers. They turned as one, their movements precise, their steps echoing as they left the chamber in silence. Behind them, the galaxy's leaders sat in uneasy quiet, each one grappling with the same thought. Humanity had not shouted. Humanity had not threatened with wild rage. Humanity had spoken with calm certainty. And certainty was far more terrifying than anger. Back on Earth, fleets continued to rise from the shipyards. Soldiers trained harder, families stocked deeper, and leaders studied maps under dim lights. Humanity knew the betrayal would come again. They had warned the galaxy, and now they waited. The treaty was nothing but paper, and paper burned easily. When the flames came, humanity would be the fire that answered. The council chambers still echoed with the humans' warning when the second crack tore through the fragile illusion of peace. It did not come in secret this time, nor as a whisper on the borders, but in full view of the galaxy. A human convoy, carrying trade goods and medical supplies, moved across a neutral corridor under the protection of the treaty. The ships were unarmed, their engines slow, their hulls carrying the seal of peace. Families watched from colony windows as the convoy passed overhead, believing it a symbol of safety, proof that cooperation had begun. But then the stars lit with fire. A fleet from one of the alien factions appeared from the void, weapons hot, formations tight. Without hesitation, they opened fire. The first salvo tore through the lead freighter, breaking it apart in a storm of flame and metal. The second strike crippled the escort vessel, scattering debris across the darkness. The human ships tried to send distress calls, their signals crying out under the banner of the treaty, but no one answered. Within minutes, the entire convoy was nothing but wreckage drifting in silence, bodies frozen among shattered steel. News spread fast. The galaxy woke to headlines flashing across every system. Human convoy destroyed. Alien fleet blames navigational error. The excuses came quickly, the apologies smoother than polished stone. It was a mistake, the alien generals said. A tragic accident of warships misreading signals. But the galaxy had heard those words before, and the humans had heard them too many times. This was not an accident. It was betrayal. When the council gathered to discuss the incident, the chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Alien leaders spoke quickly, their voices trembling with forced confidence. We must calm the humans, they urged. We must assure them peace still holds. They expected outrage, expected humans to storm in with fists clenched and voices raised. But when the human delegates entered, they were silent. Their faces gave nothing away. They sat quietly, listening as the aliens spoke, their calmness heavier than thunder. Finally, the lead human rose. His eyes swept the chamber, and his voice was colder than before. The treaty was broken once. We warned you. Now it is broken again. And still, you call it an accident. Still, you speak of peace while blood drifts in the void. Do you think we are blind? Do you think we are fools? No. We knew this would come. We prepared for it. The aliens froze, their wings stiff, their tails curling, their claws tapping nervously. Prepared? One stammered. What do you mean? But the answer did not come in words. Far above Earth, the void stirred. Across human space, the hidden fleets awoke. Warships that had slept in silence lit their engines for the first time, their hulls shining like black mountains of steel. Carriers the size of cities opened their hangars, releasing swarms of fighters into the dark. Dreadnoughts older than the treaty itself, rebuilt and reforged, powered their weapons, their cannons glowing with deadly light. Entire battle groups emerged from shadows, no longer hiding, no longer silent. Alien patrols at the borders were the first to see them. Their scanners filled with contacts, thousands of ships moving with precision, with purpose. Messages raced back to the council. The humans are mobilizing. The humans are armed. The humans were never disarmed at all. Panic spread like wildfire. In the chamber, the human delegate continued, his voice calm, almost soft. We listened to your words, but we trusted only in ourselves. You smiled as you sharpened your knives. We saw it. We knew. And so, while you celebrated, we built. While you boasted of peace, we prepared for war. Did you think we would forget? Did you think we would forgive? No. Humanity remembers everything. The aliens shifted in their seats, unease spreading. Some whispered frantically to one another. They deceived us, one muttered. They never trusted the treaty. Another hissed, they were ready for betrayal all along. And deep in their hearts, they knew it was true. Outside, across the galaxy, human fleets moved into position. They did not fire. They did not strike. They simply appeared, a wall of steel stretching across the stars, a silent reminder that the balance had shifted. No longer was humanity seen as the fragile species desperate for safety. They were the storm waiting to break, the blade hidden in the dark. The alien leaders argued desperately. Some demanded punishment for the faction that had attacked. Others begged to send more apologies, more promises. But none could deny the truth now. The treaty was dead, its words ashes before the eyes of all. One bold alien finally shouted across the chamber, "You lied to us. You promised peace, yet you built war in the shadows." The human turned his gaze on him, steady and unflinching. "No," he said simply. "You lied to yourselves. You believed a treaty could erase your hunger for betrayal. We only prepared for what we always knew would come." The words struck harder than any weapon. The galaxy had wanted to believe peace was real, but peace had never been real. It had only been a pause, a fragile illusion. And now, with the convoy destroyed and the fleets revealed, that illusion shattered completely. Silence gripped the chamber as the humans turned to leave. Their boots echoed once more, their backs straight, their heads high. Behind them, the galaxy's leaders sat frozen, their faces pale, their claws and wings trembling. The whispers began again, spreading faster than ever. The humans are ready. The humans are armed. The humans knew all along. And outside the council's walls, in the darkness of space, the fleets of humanity waited. Engines burned softly, weapons hummed with power. Soldiers stood at their stations with steady hands. They did not strike yet. They did not need to. The message had already been delivered, louder than any declaration. The treaty was broken, and humanity had always been ready. The galaxy trembled as the truth spread. Reports of human fleets moving in the void reached every council hall, every capital world, every port where merchants whispered nervously over their drinks. The treaty was dead, though no one dared say it aloud. The aliens who had laughed at humanity's silence now found their voices gone. The sight of endless warships rising from shadows, engines glowing like fire in the dark, haunted their thoughts. For the first time, they realized the scale of the mistake. Humanity had never trusted the treaty. Humanity had been waiting. The first reckoning came swift. On the very border where the convoy had been destroyed, human warships emerged from hidden stations. They did not come with warnings or apologies. They came with precision. The alien fleet responsible for the massacre had lingered nearby, smug in their belief that the humans would remain silent again. But silence was over. The humans struck in the night, their warships tearing through shields and armor with brutal accuracy. Missiles rained, railguns roared, and in minutes the alien fleet was broken. Ships that had once hunted defenseless freighters now burned, their wreckage scattered across the void. Survivors tried to flee, sending desperate signals for help. None came. The galaxy watched from afar, horrified and yet unable to look away, as the humans made their answer clear. Every shot was measured, every target chosen. This was not rage, not wild vengeance. It was justice, delivered cold and precise. News of the strike reached the council within hours. Panic spread across the chamber. Some leaders screamed for action, demanding fleets to retaliate against humanity. Others begged for restraint, knowing that to strike now would unleash a storm none of them could stop. The elder who had spoken of human loyalty earlier shook his head slowly, his voice heavy. "We should not have mocked them. We should not have broken faith. This is the cost." But even as the council argued, humanity did not wait. Across multiple borders, human fleets moved like shadows, striking not with chaos but with perfect planning. Outposts belonging to the factions that had betrayed them went dark one after another. Patrols vanished, stations exploded in silence, and colonies that had looked down on humanity now saw their skies filled with human warships. It was not a full invasion. It was a reminder. A warning carved in fire. Alien soldiers who had once called humans fragile now spoke in hushed fear. "They do not fight like us," one survivor whispered. "They fight as though every death is remembered, every wound carved into their hearts. They fight not for conquest, but for something deeper. And that makes them unstoppable. On Earth, the people did not celebrate. There were no banners, no cheers, no songs of victory. Factories worked harder, soldiers drilled longer, families stocked deeper. Humanity did not rejoice in war. They endured it. Every strike they made was with purpose. Every fleet they sent with caution. To them, this was not revenge. It was survival. The galaxy had forced their hand, and now they would show what it meant to betray the species that never forgot. The alien leaders who had once called the treaty unbreakable now sat in their chambers, pale and silent. They had thought humanity weak, too bound by honor to rise. They had thought the silence meant fear. But now they saw the truth. The silence had been patience, and patience had ended. Some begged to send new envoys, to offer more words of peace. But even as they debated, the stars lit again with human fire. The reckoning grew. Human fleets struck deeper, each attack swift and sharp, never wasteful, never reckless. Alien commanders tried to rally, but their fleets scattered. They had grown soft in the years of peace, trusting the treaty, lowering their guard. Humanity had not. And now every weakness showed. Every betrayal was answered in kind. In the council chamber, fear finally broke through arrogance. A young alien, his scales trembling, spoke what many had begun to think but none had dared to say aloud. We believed the treaty meant safety. But the humans knew it meant nothing. They knew we would break it. And they were ready when we did. His words spread through the hall like wildfire, echoed in whispers across the galaxy. The truth could not be denied any longer. The human delegate returned once more, his voice the same calm blade as before. You wanted peace without truth. You wanted safety without loyalty. And now you see what your lies have bought. This is not our war, it is yours. We only answer what you began. His eyes swept the chamber, cold and steady. Remember this, humanity does not start wars lightly. But when we are betrayed, we finish them. The silence that followed was heavier than ever before. Even the boldest alien leaders lowered their eyes. The reckoning had begun, and there was no stopping it. Beyond the council's walls, the stars burned with the fire of warships. Human fleets moved with relentless order, their strikes precise, their loyalty to one another unbreakable. The galaxy had gambled on betrayal, believing humanity too weak to answer. But now, with every burning wreck drifting in the void, they saw the truth. Humanity's silence had ended, and the reckoning was here. The war did not spread across the galaxy in a wave of endless destruction. Humanity did not burn worlds for pride, nor did they seek conquest. Their strikes were precise, their vengeance controlled, their message sharp as steel. For every human life taken under the false peace, an equal blow was delivered. Fleets that had attacked convoys were reduced to wreckage. Colonies that had hidden raiders found themselves surrounded by warships, their leaders forced to kneel. Patrols that mocked the treaty vanished into fire. And each time humanity struck, they left behind silence. A silence that carried a lesson deeper than any speech. In council halls, fear gripped the hearts of leaders who had once mocked. They had thought humanity young, fragile, desperate for safety. They had thought the treaty a chain that bound humans into obedience. Now, sitting in rooms filled with maps marked with burning outposts, they realized the truth. Humanity had never believed in the treaty. They had only waited for it to fail. And when it did, they were ready in ways the galaxy had never imagined. The alien citizens felt the shift too. In marketplaces, merchants whispered to each other of human fleets that appeared out of nowhere, striking like lightning and vanishing into the void. Soldiers told hushed stories of human eyes, calm, steady, filled with a patience more terrifying than rage. Children repeated the tale of the border colony, of how humans buried their dead in silence and then rose stronger. Across countless worlds, the same sentence spread, do not betray the humans. They never forget. And still, humanity did not gloat. On Earth, there were no parades, no songs of triumph. In factories, machines thundered day and night. In bunkers, soldiers drilled without rest. In shipyards, new vessels slid into the void, their engines burning with readiness. The people did not seek glory. They sought survival. They sought justice. To them, this war was not pride. It was protection, for their families, for their colonies, for every soul who trusted in the bond of humanity. At last, the council called another meeting, desperate to contain the storm. Alien leaders, once bold, now spoke with trembling voices. "We must rebuild peace," they said. "We must prove we are sincere this time." But their words felt empty, weaker than the paper they were written on. They knew trust had died the moment the first human colony burned. They knew no treaty, no apology, no promise could erase what had been done. When the human delegate stood, the chamber went silent. His face was calm as always, his voice low but unshakable. "You speak of peace," he said. "But peace without truth is nothing. You speak of loyalty, but you gave none. Twice you broke faith. Twice you spilled human blood. Do you think words can erase that?" No one answered. No one dared. The human's eyes swept across the chamber, sharp as blades. "We are not conquerors. We do not seek your worlds or your crowns. But understand this, peace with humanity is not weakness. Peace with humanity is trust. Betray it, and we will answer. Always." The dogged certainty in his words weighed heavier than fleets, heavier than weapons. Every alien in that room felt the truth sink into their bones. Humanity would never again be mocked as fragile. They had shown what silence could mean, what patience could hide, and what loyalty could unleash. In the weeks that followed, the fighting slowed. Alien factions who had betrayed the treaty were stripped of power, their fleets shattered, their colonies humbled. The rest of the galaxy stepped back, too afraid to push further. Humanity did not chase them beyond what was owed. They struck where betrayal had come, and when the lesson was clear, they stopped. The galaxy waited for more, but humanity's fleets held their ground, their weapons silent once again. It was not mercy. It was a warning. Generations later, stories of the false treaty still echoed across the stars. Children of alien races were told never to mistake human silence for surrender. They were taught that paper treaties meant nothing without loyalty, and that if betrayal came, humanity would remember. The galaxy did not forget the sight of endless human warships rising from the shadows, nor the calm voice that had warned them all. And on Earth, life went on. Families built, soldiers trained, fleets stood ready. Humanity did not trust easily, not anymore. But they endured, as they always had. And when they looked at the stars, they did not see weakness. They saw a galaxy that had learned the truth the hard way. The treaty had been a lie. Humanity knew it all along. And because of that, the galaxy would never again forget the price of betrayal.